Recording is started. This is the Keptn Community and Documentation Meeting. It is August 3rd, 2022. And a reminder that we do abide by the Keptn Code of Conduct here. Be nice. Let's see. I will try sharing my screen again. Okay. Can you see that? It is small.
Yes.
I don't know how to make it larger, unfortunately. Okay. Couple of quick bits of news for those who don't know. Um, Release 18 of Keptn has been released. There is actually an 18.0 and an 18.1. They had a small. Oh, thanks, Deepai. And I killed myself in the middle of your name. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's okay.
yeah. Uh, the continuing to work on the doc changes. We now have basically, and it's all incrementally. Before we go on with that stuff, does anybody have anything to add to the agenda? We'll add your stuff in front of the documentation stuff, I suppose. Does anybody have anything else they want to discuss?
I've got a pull request open for the job executor service, which allows pushing to Prometheus and things, but it's literally that's it. It's there's a pull request open, I suppose, so it doesn't really need to be an agenda item.
Okay, is it software?
It'll be docs for the job executor service, so not mainline core.
Ooh. It's Keptn.github.io.
Sorry, say that again.
Oh, it's in Keptn.github.io.
No, it's one of the Keptn.
Oh, okay. I'll go look for the PR, or you can add it to the agenda if you want to. Everybody should have rights. Okay. So let's go. I was going to do news, wasn't I? Good. I'm so good at this. So what I trying to do. We want one section that's managing projects. That my goal is this will be the information about everything you do with projects that you do with all projects. So you create and you need the upstream and you can update and you can delete and all these sorts of things. And that's under manage projects. The other section I don't have a good title for now. I'm calling define projects. What I want that to be is sort of sections about here's how you do remediation, here's how you do evaluation. I'm hoping that we're going to get some content there that's a little less shallow than what we've got now, and then have some what I would call glue documents that say, you could, if you want to do development and hardening and, you can put these together this way or whatever. I don't know. That's the general. Right now, what we've got is we've now got separate sections in the doc, and I've pulled together all of the relevant content that we've currently got into those. And it's kind of a mess. When I look at it, it's like, we need to do some work here. So that's where we are. The GSOC project for the new doc engine seems to be proceeding nicely, and hopefully we're going to be able to move on to that. I'm hoping by September. Okay, now Adam has a PR open for job executor service.
Yeah, just a quick question on the docs and the new doc engine. Are we planning to just lift and shift all the existing docs, or is there kind of a restructure going on there?
Yes.
Which one?
Both. Because because of resources, I suppose. By definition, we need to restructure, because one of the reasons we're going to the new doc engine is we'll actually be able to version docs. So we will no longer, when you go to the doc page, you'll no longer have the long list of previous releases there. You will get the latest, and then there will be a drop down menu where you can select, I think it's going to be the last three releases or something to go to.
Okay.
Um, so because of that, that right there, and what I'm starting to squirm about is exactly once we have releases that are latest, then it will be easy to have, latest minus one, latest minus two, what we're going to do for the transition. So say it's at, release 20 that we first go live with Docusaurus. We have stuff like concepts and installation, which is outside of the release specific. What is that going to look like when we first do this? And I don't know yet. But there will be community discussions, and I'm hoping lots of people will chime in. Uh, Long term, and so I've already started doing some restructuring. Like for instance, installation used to be a sub page under operations or under operate, and it's now its own section. And I've got the different tasks. We've now got like one page that's for your Kubernetes cluster, and one for Keptn CLI, and one for install Keptn, and one for install Istio. Uh, so there will be, and I'm hoping also that for each section, I've started it for installation. It's not perfect, but that on the landing page, you'll get some text that is sort of a long list. Like for installation, what I realized was that we had a lot of information for about how to install, but the only place where you actually had kind of a sequential list that said you need to do this and then this and then this in this order was in the old tutorials. And so we were getting a lot of postings and help where they were trying to do a real installation based on what they'd done in the tutorials. And of course, a lot of the tutorials, we cheated a little bit to try to get them up and working more quickly, to say nothing of the fact that they're several revisions out of shape. So that was it. But so to have sort of that list that has links to everything. So there is restructuring. A lot more restructuring is needed, and I would love input from anybody of something you see that needs restructuring. So, which do you have something specific in mind?
No, not really. Just you exactly what you just said. Basically, there's a lot of duplicate content. There's a lot of sort of bits and pieces all over the place. And the new docs engine looks fantastic, but I don't think it's in and of itself, lifting and shifting everything to there is just going to solve our problems.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that thought.
Exactly. And conversely, without a new doc engine, we could solve a lot of the problems. A lot of it is just sort of writing. And yeah, and what I say, we've got actually somebody, he didn't come, but somebody who'd already come on, that he's interested in being a technical writer and wanted to know if he could contribute some stuff here. And then he's trying to install Keptn. I get this list, and he's like, okay, I've got 8 different sets of instructions on how to install, and they're all
Yeah.
different. And I said, you wanted something to write? Do you want it? He says, yes, yes. So he's off working on that. Um, but I also notice a lot of the content, I think there's been an obsession with the brand new users. And, so it's sort of the high level, simple stuff. Has everybody seen the new tutorial, the end to end, that Adam and Absar and I did together? Adam's the brains of it, but if you have not seen that, I strongly recommend it. I think it's really good. Um, it's you open it up and wait for 3 minutes, and most of the installation setup is done for you. So they don't have to. The old tutorials, if you got them to work, you spent an hour at least trying to getting everything set up, and then you had time for a couple of trivial exercises. We've now got a lot more information in there. You learn a lot more. So I think that's a good start, and we
And
need
on
to
that
back it
token,
up.
I'm always looking for feedback. Obviously, what we can do to make it better, make it quicker, to get through, because it's basically a full end to end of every core use case that Keptn offers, from quality gates to self healing to building a pseudo pipeline, and with with it being quite a lot in there, it does take about an hour to actually run through it all. So maybe we can shrink that down. Maybe feedback from the community. You think there's things that we cover in there that aren't really necessary for beginners, especially. I don't think we've met yet. DP on a call. I take it you're quite new to Keptn, so I'd be very interested in your feedback as a sort of relatively new user.
Yeah, I will have to go through the video I think that you mentioned to for the the feedback.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe Meg, maybe that's also what we can do. Actually, it's a very good point. DPN is because a video we can actually edit down, to just the highlights. So it's a 3-minute video maybe on the homepage, or I don't know.
That's
Maybe that's
actually a good
worth.
thing. Uh,
Yeah,
that's actually a good thing for the new users that gonna visit the web page.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's yeah, it's always yeah, so much I like it because I can get through it in 45 minutes. Um and to me it's about it right because when I get through that I have some idea of what Kepton is like. And now what I'm looking forward to. Oh, but I'd also like us to have some instead of everybody goes out and writes their own introductory tutorial. I'd I'd like us to have a good little stream for really learning how to do SLIs and SLOs, and maybe have like a video and then with a killer coda exercise that you could work through or something. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so, and then and also help identifying. Oh, another thing to watch for and where I can use help. Um, to me, I was shocked when I saw we did not have reference pages for we have reference pages for the CLI and the API, but we did not have reference pages for all of these files that you configure. So I've started doing those. Shipyard is up there, which they all need a lot of work, but I think Shipyard is off to a good start. We have one for SLI and one for SLO and a couple of others. I'm working on values.yaml for the Helm chart that you use to install Keptn. Um, but I keep just today I ran across something that's like, oh, that looks like something that should be a reference page, not a concepts
Mm,
article. Uh,
yeah.
so anything like that, feel free to ping me or file an issue or whatever. Uh,
It has the new sort of. Is there like a, for want of a better term, like a mind map or a structure of what the new site will look like, and then we can all get an idea of where stuff might fit in the new world.
yes, there is not, and I'm hoping that we get one of those before too long. Uh,
A
but I
site
would
map, I
say
guess,
when
is
we
the correct term for it.
pardon?
A site map would be probably the correct term.
Right, right. Um, I would say we're and I could write up a little bit what I know. When we first cut and the reason why I checked Thomas's either or question, I said yes. When we first cut over, it's going to look a lot like whatever we have now. Only
Gotcha.
everything will be at the top level. So we'll start out with, concepts in the tutorial, not sure which of those go first, installation, and then manage projects, define projects, operate your Keptn. I think we're going to have a separate developer's guide. Right now, we sort of have a couple that, custom integrations, I think, is the section now. Oleg is working on specking that out in his copious free time. But that will probably actually be done in its separate repo. And then one nice thing with Docusaurus is we will be able to easily combine documents from different repos into one doc set that they will see.
Yeah.
Um, so, uh, but initially, that's so it's sort of this caddy, and actually, I kind of screwed up. I pulled the installation section out of the release specific parts, and I shouldn't have done it as early as I did, but since I'd done it, I did not want to invest the time to undo that. So that is already outside, and that's a slight problem because in installation are instructions for upgrading. So right now we've got instructions for upgrading from 16 to 17, and I think we're just going to have to add the instructions for upgrading from 17 to 18 in the same file because of that. And then when we get over, we will be there. So do you guys have specific things you would like to see in the new docs?
Not really. I think it's all there. It's probably all there. It's just the it is that's actually the problem. It's all there, and there's
Right.
no sort of and then you go to a page thinking, oh yeah, the thing I like. If you're pointing a customer or a Keptn user to it, you're like, oh, it'll be on that page, and
Now,
then it's not. It's on a related page.
yeah,
But
we are going to
yeah,
have a search engine, which will help.
yes, it will. I did see that in the demo. That's really good.
But but a lot of what I have, I mean, a lot of the good new content that we're getting, I'm sitting here, I'm not a technical writer and plagiarizer, but watching what comes in to help and when they get an answer, trying to capture that. But oh, and one nice little piece, another thing, if you have not seen, let me go over here, and this is pure Adam, um, is something that we all know it, we all talk about it, we all assume it, but he wrote this lovely little piece about Keptn and other tools. And
I'm just seeing the Google Docs page, by the way.
oh, well, I switched and you're not seeing. Oh, I know why. Okay, let's go back here. I'm going to have to stop sharing. I know why. Because I couldn't get it to just share my screen. I could only get it to share a tab of my choice. There we go. Now can you see Keptn and other tools?
That's the one. Yep.
Yeah, it is under concepts here. But I think it's brilliant. It's lighthearted, a light tone. Um, but he gets down here and then he talks about tooling and, one team can use Circle CI and another one can use Jenkins. And here's your testing tools. And out of the box, you've got JMeter, but you can use anything you want. And observability tools and oh yeah, and this I really like this. It made things clear to me that I sort of knew, but Helm Surface is listening for this event. JMeter's listening for this. Now, you people that are out there talking to customers, when you see a subject that's not there, a lot of our doc, when it describes features, it's sort of like a PhD thesis that's theoretical. To at least me. Quality Gate allows conducting a deployment release validation by ensuring that defined quality criteria are met. I think that's true, but it doesn't grab me. And there's a lot of that all over. So when you see things, people ask questions. Another issue that I have my eye on that I haven't gotten into yet, but to me, when I go into the Keptn bridge, now down here, here's the views. Here's your project view. Here's your environment view, services view, etc. I have no idea how to use any of this stuff. And there's a little bit more there. And then we never integrate when we talk about, like, say, running quality gates. We don't then go over and say, and if you run this, here's what it looks like in the bridge. I just when I finally started to get an idea of how you use the bridge, frankly, was working with Adam on the tutorial where he actually kind of tells them how to use the bridge and gives them a couple things they can do. So and there's you can manage sequences, um, etc.
The thing that would concern me about this is keeping those screenshots up to date.
Yep.
I mean, the bridge hasn't changed that much, you know, the core, but there will come a point where you're spending so long potentially keeping these screenshots up to date as well. Unless you can get clever and do an automated deployment of Keptn pre-release and grab some screenshots with a in the CI
Right.
process. But
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and it's a real problem because then the other thing I can say is now I just wrote something up and that you go here and you click on this item and you click on that item without seeing the screenshot. It's not nearly as clear as what you do. Um, but we certainly don't want gratuity. Yeah, and I have a feeling that a lot of these may be out of date now. It looks like um, looking at the release notes for release 18, there's a lot of changes to the bridge. There's a bunch of new stuff, and I don't know if that's reflected here yet. So
I wonder
yeah.
if there's. Here's a question to everyone, I suppose, and we can kind of discuss it offline and figure it out. But those sort of like walk through. I'm sure there'll be websites or products out there that allow you to put in your screenshots and then create like an interactive overview. So it's like a tour basically. And
Yeah.
it would be great to have it in on the bridge itself, but failing that, could we kind of drop that onto this page and say, here's your live sort of it's fake, obviously, it's not a real captain, but here's your tour of the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Again, easy to say. I don't know. I don't know if it's possible or there's something out there that does it, or what. I imagine there will be, but
Probably, yeah. That would be so cool. Um,
there's a thought exercise for everyone. Just have a little Google and see what you can find.
right, right. Or of course, another thing we could do would be a little video. And
Yeah,
then like the docs could sort of describe and some of it too. I think there may come a time where we do a massive change, but most of the changes from time to time are going to be small. So if we had a video, we could say we're doing this for release 18.0.
yeah,
And
yeah.
19.0 might end up being slightly different, but we would have warned them of that. So uh but in going through and then again too, I don't know how much I just want to learn to use the bridge versus I'm trying to do my quality gates now. I want to monitor them or I want to trigger them. Um, and we also have a big separation here. Like in under the bridge, we find how you trigger a sequence on the bridge. In quality gates, we have, I think I remember this. Yes. Here's how you trigger a quality gate evaluation. And that's the recommended, or you can use send event, and there's that, but there's no mention of the bridge. Now, short term, I can fix that probably by just adding a link. But yeah, and then I'm going to need feedback because there's all this stuff. I'm really hoping we're not going to have duplicate information around because that gets out of sync real fast. So, and I don't know, what is the perspective as people learn this? Do they want to go in and just learn everything about the bridge, or do they want that integrated with the other tasks, or do we need kind of I suspect we need a mix.
I'm gonna push that to DPN and say, as a relatively new user, what was it that you were looking for with Keptn, and what did you find easily, and what are you maybe still struggling with?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I would go. Yeah, I was just googling about what Adam said previously. about having those interactive window panels on the website. I think that's actually a good thing from an user perspective. From a new user perspective, it just easily lets you know, get through everything and set everything up. And also, the embedding videos in the website is also a good idea and something I'm on the same page with. So yeah.
Absolutely. Um,
I would agree, and
do you want to volunteer to do some screen shares and some videos, DPM? And I can obviously get you up to speed with Keptn. What time zone?
IST.
Okay, cool. Um, yeah, I'm in Australia, so we're not a million miles away.
Yeah.
So I can help you get up to speed with Keptn, and then if you want to do some videos, then that would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I can volunteer for that. I
Yeah.
can. I might have to do a bit of catching up, but yeah, sure.
Yep. Yeah. Reach out. More than happy to help. I
uh,
think if we could get if we could start with deciding sort of the core use cases. Like I'm a brand new Keptn user. I've just hit the website for the first time. I just want an overview of what it does. That's one video. And then another video, as you said, Meg, would be like, cool, I now know what it does. How do I set up a project? And that's it. The little nice little bite-sized videos.
right, and
And we
then
might have them. We might already have this stuff. I'm sure we do on YouTube.
yeah, there's all the stuff that but it's Andy's done. God, and Andy's videos, I just love them, but they're all sort of targeted, and it takes one, and maybe make it more generic, and we might find something that's just what we need too. Or and also short term, we might find something that's 80% of what we need. Well, we could put a link into that from the documentation for now, and then knowing that later on we wanted to do something that was more.
Yeah.
And then the other thing for something like Shipyard, I want this is all going to be a huge reference page, but this is where we've got every last detail. For instance, here's where, I don't know, a couple weeks ago somebody came on, can I run my sequences in parallel? And I don't think we don't have a search engine, but I've got um, git grep. So I did the source tree and there was nothing about that. So we now tell them there about that, to have actually
Yeah.
all the details of everything in the reference page. And then in the guide chapters, we can just talk about what exactly we want to talk about there.
Yeah. That's perfect. And that's really important for not only Google, but obviously the internal search engine. That'll be really, really useful.
Right, right. Um, I have a question, another one. I don't know where I can get a list of all the events that are being used, or, and the other one is the SLIs that are coming in from whatever my uh, observability platform is. I don't know if we should tell them it's here in the source, or am I nuts to even want that?
So
So
the
I think I've posted a link to the Keptn specification, and there are most all of the events.
There what?
There are almost all of the events.
Okay, and you posted this. Wait a second. Lord, I can do this. Oh, okay. Aha. So actually in the specification is where all the events are listed.
So at least the default events, yes. So the standard events.
Okay. So then, okay, there's another question with the, and part of me is if the tools will do it, and I'm still not 100% sure if they would it does this just belong over where it is, or should this be in the doc, especially if we had the ability to have the docs um, just uh, suck that in exactly, or we could all take it as source and alter it.
So I think we could reference in the docs to the specification, but the specification should stay as where it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Because the one is Keptn developer facing, and the second one is Keptn user facing. So it might make sense to simplify the thing which is specified in the spec for the users, or simply reference to the spec if some users want to get more into depth.
Right. Uh
so
yeah.
yeah, so as Thomas says, leave the source where it is. But then
Uh-huh.
we that plugin on the new Docs engine, as I understand it, you just give it that Markdown link, and it just like copies and pastes basically behind the scenes. It just syncs. So even if the devs make changes to that spec page, it'll just be reflected on the website. Because part of
Right.
the problem now is I'm explaining something to someone, and then I'm having to send them to 5 different Git repos and the website. So that just everything's everywhere, and it is there. But if we
Right.
can, but again, you don't want the overhead of because the devs will hate you if you've got to now maintain 2 copies of this spec document, and it doesn't make sense because it would eventually get out of date anyway. So if
Right.
we can
There's
just
no way. Yep.
pull them in, that would be really good.
Yeah. And yeah, that's what then I start saying, well, maybe it could be written better, but um if it's just writing, we can always modify what's in the spec. And
Yeah,
so that might be okay. I may um until we have that, just so we start seeing things, I think I'm going to make a cloud events reference page. And I mean, it's all we got to go incrementally. And for now, I will copy that in. And then at the bottom of it, I will give them a link to and say, what's on this page is a snapshot in time, and the official one is here. They will at least have that link. Does that make sense for temporary?
it does to me. I've actually got a question for Thomas. So um, the spec, should we put a little note on the spec to say you can craft your own cloud events? You're not limited to just these ones, or does that not live there?
I think normally this should be possible, but to be honest, I didn't read the spec until now. So I only know that the cloud events are specified there because I needed them at some point in time. And it might be that it's written somewhere in the spec repo. If not, then it would make sense, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about looking at this spec. If I'm creating a new integration, I think this is everything. If I'm trying to use existing implementations, I might have trouble finding what I need here. I'm not sure. But again, I think all of this stuff, it's not crystal clear. We kind of do something now, and then we look at it and we refine it as we go forward. We get incrementally better, right?
Yeah, exactly. What this has been very good for, in practical terms, is pointing, a potential Keptn user to this and saying, you're going to want to trigger a sequence. Here is the template for how you trigger a sequence, for example. So they've got
Right.
that JSON payload. So I'm not having to rewrite it over and over and over again. But primarily, I see the audience for this particular document being devs.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't say anywhere that, because the way you would read this as a brand new Keptn user is, these are the things I can do with Keptn, and that's it. I can do a test, an evaluation, a release. But on the shipyard side, we're saying, well, your tasks can be anything. So there's a bit of a mismatch there, because your mind leaps to, well, if I can say any word, how does that work?
Right.
How does that random word that I put in the shipyard get sort of mashed into a cloud event? And that's the missing piece here, is it gets substituted into these cloud events. But I think there's just that missing paragraph in the spec document, to be honest. I think that would probably solve it.
Yeah, a lot. Well, and a little bit more like, well, I can see like here in the tools, like, I mean, when I saw that, because I'm still, baby steps, I'm still learning the remedial stuff. This was really cool. And then I want to say, to see a list of all of the supported events, go here. Like even there, that would make, even though it's not
Yeah.
crystal clear there. But see, like now this little statement, that's really clear to me. That makes a lot of sense. Now I want more.
Yeah, we need a line under there saying all of the predefined cloud events are here, linked to the spec.
And we've got the other sentence. You are not restricted to these task names. Define whatever task names you need.
But that doesn't, I know I wrote the page, so I'm going to be critical of it. That doesn't tell me how that if I have a task called foo, how does that get in? How does Keptn even use that?
Right. So this file, but so yeah, we have another sentence before this.
Yeah.
That says for a complete list of all of the events, go here.
I'll have another look at this, and I'll raise a PR on this page.
Okay. But that's how we get it, a little. But that's it. There's so many pieces. We're just gonna have to chip away at it, and we will. Right now, miscellaneous. Here's another fun one. Distributor. All those environmental values for the distributor. And otherwise, I actually, after I did this, I did find it was buried somewhere else in the docs, but you couldn't find it. So that's what, as I say, keep finding things that we should have reference pages for. And then hopefully, yeah, I'm hoping for the values.yaml reference page that eventually we can have that suck the content in, or even just the synopsis of what the file looks like, the default file, suck that into the documentation, and maybe have the rest of the documentation authored as the doc. And there's a few that would be like that. Shipyard might actually be that way. So yeah. So
actually, one more as you're talking, one more thing that came up on Slack, which is obviously we've got charts.keptn.sh for the Helm, charts for the core. Could we do something similar? And again, answers aren't necessary here, but just a thought. Could we do something similar in Keptn Sandbox repos? Would that be good or not? Arguments for and against. And also, as you've just said, the values.yaml for all of the Helm charts. At the moment, if I go to the Helm repos, there's no sort of way I can, without downloading the TGZ file and unpacking the actual Helm chart itself and having a look at values.yaml, there's no way I can see like a reference page for each of the core services for the values. And that would just be really nice on GitHub, just to be able to see that, in plain text. So, and maybe there's a way we can do that in the CI. It's all there, obviously. It's just not exposed.
And maybe should that be part of the documentation for each service?
Well, that's what I was thinking. If we can get to that point where it's available on GitHub, then your little puller inner thing, we'll just pull it into these pages.
Right.
I think these are things which can be auto-generated, and therefore, yes, they should be part of the CI process and should be in the, I think, in the release or in the GitHub repos.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and we actually need a good definition, and I think this will be part of the developer guide of when you have a new service or a new integration, what all should your documentation include for that?
Yes, I agree. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oi. Hey, good discussion.
Indeed.
So, I don't know. Be honest, I think we're going in the right direction. Does everybody agree with that?
Yep.
Yeah. We've got a long ways to go. But
My only concern, and it is a personal thing, is having more Git repos, and it's just more places. Now, if that Pullerina tool that I keep talking about is as good as it sounds, don't care, because then the website becomes the central hub. If I don't want to search through GitHub, if I'm not a developer, I can still search through the search engine. I don't care if it's in a million places on GitHub then, but as it is now, yeah. So before we get the new doc engine, it's gonna be interesting. But I don't see that there's no one's come to me and said, "Oh, we need 50 new Git repos." So maybe I'm worrying about nothing.
yeah. Yeah. And at what stage? And that's it. And part of me too, of course, those of you who know me, I'm such an old school Unix person. It's just disgusting. But I like the reference page that has differences between versions and see also at the bottoms. And I don't know that we want that in the README files. So yeah, a lot of me likes the idea. And of course, even in the worst case, well, and what I think we're talking about doing for so like cloud events, I may draft this up in the next couple of days and we can look at it. For the time being, I'm going to copy paste that into the reference page. But at the bottom of the C also, I will include a link to where and say something, that this is a copy, saying the single source of truth is over here. Does that make sense for the interim?
It does. I'm also sort of wondering what we're dropping, because it sounds like in the new docs engine is going to be adding a lot of stuff, and I just wonder what we should actually drop from the website, and what does really genuinely live in a Git repo hidden away off to the side, because otherwise the website becomes the size of Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm. Which is, yeah, and well, yeah, that especially if you look at the whole website. Well, we all know what I want to kill out of there, but yeah, something right now have the and then the engineers Oleg in particular, but everything, it's in the Git repo there. We have got so freaking many Git repos, I can't find stuff. And if we had actually, because another thing that we could do short term, I could make a cloud events reference page that has one or two sentences about what this is all about, and then has a link to the repo. That's another thing we could do for the interim. It's not.
That would probably be the quickest way forward. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What is a cloud event? Boom. If you want to see the spec, go here, and then we can solve the problem in the future.
And we do and we actually have links to that in the documentation, but it's not a reference page. And so if I go to the reference pages, I don't see it. If I happen to be reading the right guide chapter, I might find it. So yeah, so maybe that's what I should do, is just, and then, because the one other thing now in this, See, part of me thinks that yeah, that the hybrid reference pages would be best though, because like the differences between versions and like for values.yaml at 17, that becomes really important. Um, right now, and it's actually nicely written up for upgrade. Look at that. Isn't that a cute little table that Mo did?
I saw this and I was like, this is precisely what I need.
Huh.
It was a breath of fresh air. It was really nice. Well done, whoever wrote this, especially with the screenshots as well. Not just, you know, move this to this. The screenshots make it really clear.
Right, it's Moritz. Well, and he's got both. He's got the text and then he's got this. This was Moritz. And I was like, whoa, you're a serious powerhouse when it comes to this. But the problem with the problem on the other side, the way this is done, right? This was written when 17 was the hot new release, and this is for upgrading from 16 to 17. Now, I think when we're on release 20 or 25, or certainly at 20, it would be nice to have a place to go and say that's everything that changed at 17, because we might change some more stuff at 19 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that I almost want to just take this whole thing and put it into the differences between versions and the values.yaml reference page.
But doesn't that issue go away when we've got version docs? Because this wouldn't be at a global level. This would be hidden away. Like we're on 18 now, so I'd never see this because this would only show when I'm on 17 looking to go from 16 to 17.
Right.
Oh, I see what you mean. But if you're on 16 and you want to go to 18.
And and what I see, and this is, really based on, is when we're at 20, somebody's like, when did we make that particular change?
Mm.
That's kind of the nice thing about differences between versions to me. It's like on the reference page, and it also, because realistically, I remember a time in the early days of Unix when the prevailing thought was all of those reference pages should be exactly for that release, and people who were running hybrid organizations that had like 5 different releases running were going to keep 5 different sets of man pages. They were all printed then around, and they were going to look at the right one for each one. Well, that never happened. Everybody had one set and they looked at it that was close enough, and then every once in a while they'd get in a lot of trouble trying to use something that wasn't supported on that particular release. And that was when we started coming up with the differences between versions. It was nice to see that most of this is the same for whatever version you've got, and here's where the differences are. So
Yeah.
that and the fact that I studied history, that's always my view. But I kind of think it's legitimate. We'll have, as we go forward, now it may be that when we're at release 30, this won't matter anymore. But someplace I just read, I don't know, one of the guides, I saw something, and oh yeah, it's, I think the separate executor plane is new in release 8. And it's like, okay, we're on 18. I don't really care about that anymore.
Yeah.
It just is. So but yeah, maybe I'll do that for a little bit first while we're transitioning. I might have some of my sections. I'll see what else I want to say, but just just put a link in, go here for the spec.
Well, if you're making the decision that we only really care about the n minus two, the last 3 releases, then that's the answer. We hold the changes for the last 3 releases. Maybe, I don't know. I'm saying this like these are the answers. It's not. It's just discussion
Right.
points. I don't
Or I
really
might
know
give
what
them
the
like,
answers are.
I might hold differences between versions. Just the other thing is that I've been using it for a while. I know what it is, and I'm looking for information about continuous dash delivery or something. So I Google that and I get the hit and I see that it was changed at this point. So I might give one extra version for different. Yeah, but I think that's the general. I think you're right. Um, so, well, this has been fun. Okay, I should actually. Um, I'm going to stop sharing. I don't know how people do this stuff. I don't have enough things I can do. Um, let's see. So, um, well, I'll update the notes for the minutes later. But so we have a short-term path full on some of these reference pages. And we can do that. We can look at, anything we do is better than what we've currently got, right? And we can look at it. And sometimes when you look at something, you see, oh, no, that's not right. It should be this.
Yeah. I'm very interested in those videos, DP, and let's definitely keep in touch on that. And
Yeah.
what I think I need to do, I don't know about anyone else, is try and figure out the topics for the video. Basically, I'm a brand new Keptn user. I want to define some SLIs, SLO. Like, what is it that we want to actually record? Because otherwise, you end up just waffling for ages about every possible thing, and they
Right.
need to be short and sharp.
Although I don't know. But then where do we jump to? I mean, there's a point where I just want the reference material because I know what I'm doing. But it seems to me, okay, for the SLIs and SLOs, you're going to start out with those that, like the SLIs that map directly to the queries that you've got coming from your observability. Now, what if I want to do something that isn't so straightforward with those SLIs? How to do that?
I
And
don't think it's an either or. To be honest, I think it's just how people prefer to consume content. Some people like reading. I like reading docs personally.
mhm,
Um, I think you can get a lot more in docs than you ever will in a video, but the video has a very good place in that there's a million tools out there, and I've only got 5 minutes. I just want a very quick overview of how to do this thing. I'll dig into the details later in the docs, but I just want to get something, even if it's a default. I just want to get something running,
right,
and I'll make it do it, get it working, and then get it working right later on, kind of thing.
right. And the other thing I would say there too is we could work docs and videos together to where so you have a doc that has a lot more detail and then but the
Yes.
video goes through in exactly the same order, and has like the high points. We do this and the doc has more. The other thing that I will say, yeah, well, I'm less visual than most probably of our users are, but we've already got this issue with our end-to-end tutorial. I go through that, then later on I'm doing something. It's like, oh, there was something in that video about that, and I want to look that up. Well, the only thing I can do is fire up the video and slog through until I get to where I want to be, just to read something that's like in the left margin or something. So that's where I think it's really nice to work the docs and the videos together.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Maybe at the top of the page we have the short, sharp overview and maybe we self-impose a time limit of like 4 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it is, so it doesn't get waffly. And
Right.
then at the end of the video, you just say, well, if you need more, go to the doc switcher below, and then they can be really as verbose as you like. You've already got the mental image of what you're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing to work too is videos versus or videos and killer coda tutorials, because I also think that most of us learn better when we actually have to do something. I can
Yeah,
sit and watch the best demo in the world and it's like, I've got that. And then I turn around to my system and I'm like, what?
yeah,
So being able to actually do it and or maybe have, the tutorial where you do it in the video that runs through the tutorial and you see how they did it. So if you get in trouble,
Yeah.
you've got that. So yeah, it's, so
But
we're talking,
the trailers really is what they are. They're short, sharp teasers of this is what you could be doing.
right, right,
It's not every nth detail of everything that you could do. Just like, well, you wouldn't have the entire film, but it's enough to get someone hooked and go, well, yeah, okay, I want to invest a bit more time in that.
right,
It's
right.
worth doing, basically.
Mm-hmm. And I get the picture of what I'm doing and where I'm going with it.
Yeah, because I've seen it done right. I've seen it done well by somebody, and so if I go wrong, I can understand. Oh well, that like mine right now.
Right.
So what have I missed? What have I done wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we need that. I mean, my mind's just gone crazy because we need that for all the developer setting up a dev environment. There's a lot of little videos we could do.
Right. Yeah, well, Christian did that one for setting up the development environment a little while ago. And I thought
Yeah,
he did 2 10-minute ones, I think. I think the first one was almost straight setting up Keptn, and then the second one was the developer tools. But I'm sure
yeah.
by now that was 3 months ago. It's probably hopelessly obsolete. And
Maybe
that's
not.
the other problem with doing a lot of these things too, is that the maintenance becomes an issue.
Yeah. Deepayan, what is your desire with Keptn? Is it to just use it, or is it to develop integrations and develop for Keptn?
I think I'm here more as a contributor than a user. So yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Cool. And yeah, so are you working on developing anything now? Do you have a project?
Not really.
Would you
Uh,
like a project?
yes, I will. Yeah, I think I will try to get into technical documentation.
Ooh,
You
good
know,
answer.
yeah.
You've
So
you've
yeah,
just walked into the shark's jaws there, Deepayan.
That was a stupid thing to say with me, just for future reference.
yeah. I think some of the thing you mentioned, like putting in the doc section, I think I can work on some of those. But then again, I'm back here after a month or two, so I have to catch up a lot, because a lot of progress has been made. So yeah, I think I will look into it.
Right, yeah. Good, good. And that's one of the things, and you do, like, for any of this stuff, it's like, I have this big picture where we're going, but you chunk it down into little pieces. So maybe you'll work on something for 3 or 4 weeks and then something else will come along. Well, you'll have a little bit of it done. We've moved forward on that, and maybe you'll go off and do something else then. So, um,
Yeah,
yeah. So
Sorry, I'm gonna have to drop. But a really good call.
it
And
is time.
yep.
I think anybody have anything else, or should we call it a call? Thanks very much, everybody. I will get these
thank you.
published. And they're the video.